5 minutes before the start of round 11 of the MotoGP World Championship here in Brno. Rossi up the inside once again. Valentino Rossi wins here in Qatar.
3 out of 3 here at the circuit of the Americas.
Oh, Marquez is down. Marquez has crashed out. Oh, Marquez is going off the track. Marquez has crashed yet again.
Lorenzo, he's a serious championship contender. Jorge Lorenzo makes it 4 in a row.
Marquez is up the inside of Rossi. Oh, Rossi just holds firm. Rossi's through the gravel. Rossi's going to win the race. Marquez wins for the second time in a row this season.
Marquez is back. What's next? We are about to find out. Round 11 of the MotoGP World Championship. Eyes closed. Concentration at 100%. Jorge Lorenzo has dominated the proceedings here so far. But what a front row we have produced. Well, we haven't produced it. They have produced it. There we are. Interesting tyre choices, Matt.
Fascinating tyre choices. Medium for Jorge Lorenzo in pole. Then it was the hard for Valentino Rossi. Medium front for Marquez and the hard rear. 3 different tyre combinations on the front row of the grid, just adding to the fascination of what will be a cracking Brno MotoGP race.
Here he is, Jorge Lorenzo, only his second pole position of the season. He trails Valentino Rossi by 9 points in the championship. Where will that be after 22 laps? So welcome back to Brno, round 11 of the MotoGP World Championships. I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside me, Matt Burt, down in pit lane. It's Dylan Gray.
It's the dream front row, Jorge Lorenzo, Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi. Row true, the fast-starting Andrea Iannone and Bradley Smith ahead of Andrea Dovizioso in 6th place.
Row 3, Maverick Vinales, Pol Espargaro and Danny Pedrosa with that injured foot. Then Cal Crutchlow, Hector Barbera and Yoni Hernandez, row 4.
Row 5 headed by Danilo Petrucci, Scott Redding and a disappointing 15th for Aleix Espargaro, Bradl, Demeglio and Baz. That's your 6th row of the grid.
Row 7. Alvaro Bautista, former winner here. Eugene Lafferty and Nicky Hayden. And row 8, Jack Miller, Alex Angelis and Claudio Corti. And completing the field, the local man back from injury, Karel Abraham. Final sighting lap coming up. 25 riders, 22 laps of this 5.40 kilometres, 3.36 miles Brno circuit. 8 right-hand corners, 6 lefts, many undulating changes.
Well, this is going to be a fascinating 22-lap battle. I've got sweaty palms here in the commentary box. Absolutely going to be red hot, this Brno Grand Prix. They're on the sighting lap, on the warm-up lap then, 27 degrees. The air temperature, that's the hottest we've seen so far today. Nearly 140,000 fans have packed into this Brno circuit to see what could possibly be the most dramatic shootout we've seen so far in an already enthralling 2015 campaign.
So, Dylan, down in pit lane, weather-wise, are we okay?
No, absolutely fine at the moment. A little bit cloudy, but it's nice and warm. They have some good track temperature. It's not quite as hot as it was in some of the practices, which the riders will be quite happy about. Very interesting, though, with this tyre combination, because it's going to be one of those races, of course, it's going to be decided by rider skill, but the tyres might come into play. If you remember last year, it was also a little bit of a tyre issue where Lorenzo's front went off towards the end, and once again, he's gone with that softer type, but so has Marquez. So it's going to be one of those really interesting races. Certainly hope we have a great battle, but also we need to keep an eye out on those lap times.
So, a crowd of 138,000, a weekend crowd here of 250,000. Let battle commence here in the Czech Republic.
22 laps of this 3.35 mile Brno circuit about to get underway. Valentino Rossi looking to protect that 9-point World Championship lead that he has over his teammate Jorge Lorenzo, who was in red hot form in qualifying yesterday. A circuit best ever lap of 1:54.989 from the Spanish rider.
Support for everybody, every country, every nation. They've made their pilgrimage to the Czech Republic. End of August, sun is shining, 22 laps, the dream front row. Sit back and enjoy. Lorenzo wins and Rossi finishes in third place, the same as the front row. They will be equal in points going into the British Grand Prix at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time. And what can the others do? Don't rule out Iannone. Don't rule out Bradley Smith at the start of the race. And of course, Marc Marquez in great form on the Honda. So 22 laps of the Brno circuit. It's round 11 of the MotoGP World Championship. A massive crowd about to be entertained here in the sunshine.
Jorge Lorenzo got a brilliant launch off the line from pole position. There he is on the outside of the track, the number 99. Bradley Smith away really well as well on the number 38. Lorenzo leads the way. Marquez takes second place. Bradley Smith up into third. Valentino Rossi's already lost 2 places to Smith and Andrea Dovizioso. Lorenzo leads. This is what the field didn't want.
Here comes Andrea Dovizioso trying to get up the inside of Bradley Smith. They fan out as they come down towards turn 3. Marquez trying to make a move. Dovizioso makes a move on Smith, but I think Smith will hang on to third place as he flicks it right. He does exactly that.
Worst possible scenario for Valentino Rossi. Got swamped off the line by Bradley Smith and the fast starting Andrea Dovizioso. Dovizioso now at the inside of Smith into third place. Rossi still in 5th, coming under pressure from Andrea Iannone. Lorenzo and Marquez already stretching out at the front.
Yeah, Marquez is not gonna let Jorge Lorenzo get away at the front. We ride with Lorenzo, we ride with Marquez into the stadium section for the first time.
Lorenzo down to turn number 8. Valentino Rossi's picked off Bradley Smith. He's up into 4th place. He knows he's got to get through on Andrea Dovizioso as soon as he possibly can. Rossi already over half a second back of that lead duo. Marc Marquez and Jorge Lorenzo down on the brakes to the lowest part of the circuit, turn number 10.
What is going to happen? Will Lorenzo be able to run the race that he did last week with Marquez following him, or will Marquez make an early move? I got a feeling Marquez would change the tactics and make an early move. All over the rear wheel of the Ducati is Valentino Rossi. This just is not working out for him because they're getting away at the front. Just what he didn't want to happen. Will he make a move up at turn 13? He must make a move very soon indeed, but he can't get by. Iannone's got past Bradley Smith as well.
Yeah, the problem there for Valentino Rossi was he can't out-drag the Ducati on that horsepower shootout up the hill from turn number 12. The Ducati's been strong through that 4th sector all weekend. We finished the first lap. Lorenzo Marquez lead the way. Valentino Rossi's lost 1.5 seconds already on that first lap of the race. He's got to get Andrea Dovizioso as soon as he possibly can before the Spaniards stretch away.
Also bear in mind Rossi's the only one of that battling group who's on that harder option front tyre. So especially in the initial stages on corner entry, that is where he's going to be suffering a little bit more.
And I think we saw it then, because I think Valentino Rossi would try to make the move, but brilliant manoeuvre by Rossi. Fooled, I think, Dovizioso by going up the inside, not able to do so. Came up the inside, Dovizioso fights back. Rossi's going to have another go up the inside at turn 5, but he is just not close enough. This is really bad news for Valentino Rossi. They're getting away at the front. Could be a repeat of Indianapolis.
Yeah, Rossi's line there through turn number 4. He just couldn't pull it back on the exit. He ran onto the curbs, door wide open for Andrea Dovizioso to take 3rd place back. This is a disaster for Valentino Rossi, because all the time that he's trying to find a way through the Ducati of Dovizioso, he has a look up the inside at turn number 9. No way through. Lorenzo and Marquez are just eking away at the front of the field. Rossi has got to make a move. We're coming down on the brakes to turn 10. He's not close enough. The Ducati out grunting the Yamaha yet again.
Yeah, and the problem is there's Andrea Iannone behind him, just waiting for an opportunity as Rossi makes a move on Dovizioso to try and overtake Rossi. We ride with Dovizioso. Where can Rossi make the move? As you say, that hasn't got the grunt coming up the hill. Here we are, Rossi sandwiched between the 2 Ducatis. Marquez and Lorenzo at the front. Can Rossi make a move here? It's not easy because he just has not quite got that pace. I think it's got to be down at 3 and 4 if he's going to make a move. He's very close. Perhaps have a go coming into 14.
He's up the inside of Dovizioso at 14. Great onboard shot there of Valentino Rossi, sweeping up the inside of Andrea Dovizioso. They complete the second lap, but Rossi already 2.1 seconds back of the lead duo. Is that already his victory hopes dashed? Lorenzo and Marquez split by almost 4/10 of a second at the front. Rossi finally into third, but he's taken far too long to get into that third place. Lorenzo and Marquez clear.
Lorenzo, fastest lap of the race, at 1:56.243 for Jorge Lorenzo. This is very reminiscent of a week ago in Indianapolis. Now, what can Rossi do? Can he start closing the gap? The graphics are going to tell us.
You can see how much time Valentino Rossi lost on that second lap in that duel with his compatriot Andrea Dovizioso. He's 1.1 seconds slower than Jorge Lorenzo on that second lap. 2.1 seconds he is now back of that lead group. This is the move where he finally made it stick underneath Andrea Dovizioso at turn number 14. That was a great move by Rossi up the inside of the Ducati.
Yeah. He couldn't do it at 13, didn't have the pace, but had the pace through 13 to then take him at 14. Lorenzo leads the way from Marquez, just kicks up a little bit of dust as they come out of turn 9. Lorenzo is putting in a very, very fast pace at the front. Can Marquez stay with him as he did at Indianapolis?
Good battle going on behind that top 5. It's Bradley Smith in 6th place, ahead of his teammate Pol Espargaro by half a second. He's a further 3/10 clear of Maverick Vinales, doing a great job of keeping factory Honda rider Danny Pedrosa behind him. Danilo Petrucci's had a great start to this race. He's in 10th, ahead of Cal Crutchlow. Back with the lead duo, it's Jorge Lorenzo, the pole setter, through turn number 14, about to complete lap number 3. We'll keep a real close eye on that gap between Marquez and Rossi.
Don't forget, if it remained the same at the end of the race, Rossi and Lorenzo would be equal on points in the World Championship going into the British round in 2 weeks' time. Here is Rossi. Gap really is not closing, is it? And you've got to say that Dovizioso and Iannone are not letting them get away. Fastest lap of the race now from Marc Marquez.
Yeah, Marc Marquez with that 1:56.158. Both Lorenzo and Marquez on that third lap, 7/10 of a second quicker than Valentino Rossi. Rossi just waiting for that hard rear Bridgestone tyre to come to him in the early part of this race. Lorenzo and Marquez, they're powering down to turn number 5. Now you can see Rossi at the top of your screen trying to break away from the 2 Ducatis. Dovizioso still in 4th, Iannone 5th, Bradley Smith still the top non-factory rider in 6th place. He's pulled out another half a second on his teammate Pol Espargaro in 7th.
For the race's sake, Rossi just didn't make the start he wanted to. He knew Bradley Smith would make a great start. He did. He was 3rd fastest. And I tell you what, Bradley Smith is not letting those Ducatis get away in front of him either.
We've lost Alex D'Angelo. He's crashed out further down the field. Danny Pedrosa up the inside of Maverick Vinales. So Pedrosa now up into 8th place, of course, riding really handicapped with that badly damaged left foot. It's here now and he's downshifting gears where the lack of movement, but it's really, really painful for Danny Pedrosa. He's right now, though, with Pol Espargaro making his 150th Grand Prix start. Pedrosa, we had a look at the inside there at turn number 11, but Pedrosa on the move.
Certainly is. Pol Espargaro running in 7th place. Danny Pedrosa, well, probably a bit of adrenaline pumping through to help the pain. It's very, very much the same as Indianapolis at the moment. These two running a really hot pace at the front. Tactically, I'm not sure what they would do. Marquez was very brave, I think, to wait and wait. Well, I don't think he could do anything but wait in Indianapolis, and he found the pace. But I just think Lorenzo's that little bit stronger than he was at Indianapolis.
Yeah, and Rossi struggling again to run the pace of that top 2 on lap number 4. Rossi a 1:56.7, fastest lap of the race from Marc Marquez, a 1:56.048. So Rossi losing another 7/10 on that 4th lap to Marc Marquez.
Boy, Lorenzo leads away from Marc Marquez. They plunge through turn 4, now downhill through the forest, down towards turn 5. Long, long way to go still. Let's have a look then at this replay. Oh, mistake there by Marquez. Just got it up on the curb, didn't he? Just enough to give Lorenzo that little bit of an advantage. But he's pulled back that advantage now. It's Indy all over again. It's going to be a great fight between Lorenzo and Marquez. And I don't think there is anything at the moment, as Marquez sets the fastest lap of the race, that Valentino Rossi can do.
Marc Marquez, he's also on that red banded rear Bridgestone tyre. Here is the lead duo down to turn number 10. It's Lorenzo that leads the way, as he has done right from the first corner. We're back on board now. That's Dani Pedrosa. He's picked up another place into 8th place. Pol Espargaro 7th. It's Pedrosa in 8th by Maverick Vinales. Now Pedrosa's up in front of number 44, Pol Espargaro. Cal Crutchlow's up inside the top 10. He's finally made a move on Danilo Petrucci. Alexis Espargaro's picked up 3 places in the early part of this race. He's up into 12th.
Yeah, it's quite quiet at the moment, but it's going to really kick off towards the end. I think in a little bit lower down the field than Marquez and Lorenzo. That's going to be the battle, one would imagine. Rossi probably going to finish in 3rd place, but we've got to say the Ducatis go up. Bradley Smith really is hanging on to the Ducatis, who he almost caught Iannone, didn't he, at Indianapolis. And Dani Pedrosa is really on the charge at the moment.
He is. Dani Pedrosa has just crossed the line to start lap number 6. His 5th lap was a 1:57.255, best of the race so far for the Spaniard. Oh, that's Eugene Laverty. That was close. Eugene Laverty, the Irish rider there, number 50. High siding coming out of turn number 1. He was almost collected there by his fellow open class Honda rider Jack Miller. Thankfully, Laverty able to walk away. Look at that gap there, that huge gap now that's emerged between Lorenzo Marquez and Valentino Rossi in 3rd place. It's up to over 4 seconds for the first time in this race. Marquez still piling the pressure on Lorenzo. Here's the tyre choices. It's Lorenzo, medium front, medium rear. Marquez has the same front tyre as Lorenzo. He's got the harder option rear tyre on though. And Rossi, he's got the only one of the top 3 on the hard front. He's also on the hard rear. But Rossi really paying the price for slipping behind Dovizioso and Bradley Smith on that very first lap.
Well, it's certainly going to be interesting towards the end of the race, like you guys have said, because last year it was Pedrosa who had the harder option and it was Lorenzo who was on the softer option. And with about 5 laps to go, the pace on that front tyre really wore off, because imagine there's a lot of downhill braking and downhill turning, so that can wear quite a lot. So if you're on that medium compound, of course it's going to help you in these early stages, like Massimo Meregali from Yamaha told us. It helps with the turning. This circuit is all about the turning, but so we never know. Rossi still could come good towards the end, unless of course the temperature should start dropping.
Yeah, certainly at the moment he's not, and the 2 Ducatis are chasing hard after him. It's Andrea Dovizioso and Andrea Iannone. Those are different machines. You can see the slimmer fairing of a number 4, Andrea Dovizioso, back at the front.
Yeah, Lorenzo Marquez running practically an identical pace. Lorenzo 1:56.449 on that lap. Marquez 1:56.494. Valentino Rossi still half a second back on that last lap we saw on that graphic a moment ago. There you can see what we talked about before the start of the race. If Jorge Lorenzo wins and Valentino Rossi is 3rd, then they'll go to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time, level on 211 points. It could not get any closer.
But Lorenzo will be the championship leader because he'd have won more Grand Prix. Dani Pedrosa now closing up on Bradley Smith. If he'd have made a better start, he could have been in there perhaps to help Marc Marquez. We ride with Dani Pedrosa. He's got a great record here at Brno. 2 MotoGP wins, 125 and 250s, all those podium finishes. He is riding with that damaged foot. They say there's a lot more movement in the foot now, and one would imagine he's going to pick off Bradley Smith pretty soon.
Dani Pedrosa's...
Sorry guys, I was just going to say, of course, the big question is, yes, he is running with some painkillers, but as we know, usually those tend to wear off by about half-race distance. So if you were Dani Pedrosa, you'd certainly think you need to get most of your passing manoeuvres out the way now.
That's exactly what he's done on Bradley Smith. He moves in front of Bradley Smith up into 6th place as they come through turn 9.
Yeah, Dani Pedrosa's running the exact same pace as Valentino Rossi on that previous lap. Rossi at 1:56.9, Pedrosa at 1:56.9. So he's doing an absolutely brilliant job of riding through the pain barrier is Dani Pedrosa. There's the Valentino Rossi just breaking away from the two factory Ducatis. It's a real great inter-team battle between Iannone and Dovizioso. Iannone's been the best Ducati rider for the last 5 races. It's been a really miserable recent run for Andrea Dovizioso. This will do his confidence the world of good if he can hang on to 4th place. We're about to start lap number 7. Lorenzo still leads the way. The gap up to Marc Marquez over 4/10 of a second. Rossi over the line now. He's 5 seconds further back.
15 laps to go. This is turn 1. This is the two Ducatis. This guy Dovizioso has had to play second fiddle very much to Andrea Iannone. Here's Cal Crutchlow. Cal Crutchlow currently running in 10th place. CWM LCR Honda. Podium finish for him here 3 years ago. His first ever podium finish. Pole position 2 years later. That's a little bit of a lonely ride at the moment. Here is Aleix Espargaro and Danilo Petrucci.
It is a very lonely ride in 10th for Cal Crutchlow. He's 2.5 seconds behind Maverick Vinales and 1.7 seconds clear of this battle for 11th place, raging between Aleix Espargaro and Danilo Petrucci.
Danilo Petrucci thought about getting up the inside there of Aleix Espargaro. Really not enough space for the Ducati on the Suzuki. So they come through turns 5, now to 6, 7 and 8 into the stadium section.
Dani Pedrosa already streaking away from Bradley Smith. We saw him make the move on the last lap to take 6th place, and he's already pulled out nearly a second. Andrea Iannone now has moved up into 4th place ahead of Andrea Dovizioso. So Iannone now winning that inter-team battle of the Ducatis yet again.
Yeah, Andrea Iannone passed Dani Pedrosa as we talk about past Bradley Smith. There we go, going into turn 8. They flick it right now into turn 9. Iannone is through.
And the gap between Marquez and Lorenzo, it's over half a second for the first time in this race. They come down to the penultimate corner, turn number 13 to complete lap number 8. And for the first time in the race, Lorenzo has stretched his advantage to over half a second. We'll keep an eye on it as they cross the line. Marquez gets his pit signal, 5 seconds clear of Rossi. Lorenzo is now almost 0.8 of a second clear of Marc Marquez. A 1:56.4 from Lorenzo on lap 8, a 1:56.7 from Marquez.
Next 2 laps in this race are going to tell us an awful lot. Lorenzo now on the charge. Lorenzo trying to open the gap up. He doesn't want to happen what happened at Indianapolis. But Marquez was able to run the pace with him, and then 4 laps from the end got past him.
I'll tell you, the man is flying is Dani Pedrosa. He's not quite as quick as Marc Marquez and Jorge Lorenzo at the front, but Pedrosa, he's almost, well, he was 0.9 of a second quicker than Andrea Dovizioso on the last lap, half a second quicker than Andrea Iannone. So Dani Pedrosa not out of that battle for 4th place at all. What a ride by the Spaniard.
Well, Jorge Lorenzo really is on the charge now. Look at Marquez, look at Lorenzo. Lorenzo's putting down the hammer, and I don't know if Marquez can run at this sort of place that Lorenzo is running at. It is different to Indianapolis, and the gap is beginning to open up. There's still a long, long way to go.
We're through the second split, though, down through turn number 9, and Marc Marquez really struggling to match the pace of Lorenzo. The gap now up to 0.9 of a second. Lorenzo's pulled another 0.2 in the first half of this lap.
Yeah, yet again, got to say it's a masterclass from Jorge Lorenzo. This is where he loves to be, at the front, just up in the pace the whole time. Marquez was worried that he couldn't stay with him. Well, he did at Indianapolis, then he picked him to win the race. But this is very, very different stories. They come up the hill. Interesting through the third split. It's over 1 second. Over 1 second for the first time. Lorenzo leads the way as he tips it into turn 13.
Yeah, we're on board now with Marc Marquez, flicking it right through turn number 14. There's Jorge Lorenzo just ahead of him on track. Well, we say just ahead of him because it's going to be the biggest gap we've seen so far. Lorenzo gets the pit board signal. He's 1 second clear of Marc Marquez. Reality on the road is it's 1.170 seconds. Valentino Rossi over the line now. Rossi lapping just 0.2 of a second slower than Marc Marquez, but he's 5.6 seconds behind the Spaniard. Marquez is finding it really, really difficult to run the pace of Jorge Lorenzo. This is the crucial break being made by Lorenzo. 13 laps to go here in Brno.
Yeah, through 3 and 4 for Jorge Lorenzo. Here is Marquez doggedly hanging on, but the gap is beginning to open up at the front. Lorenzo has looked in such superb form all weekend. Let's have a look at the start. There's Valentino Rossi that misses out. Look at Bradley Smith from that second row, who's going to appear from somewhere. Here he comes.
It wasn't his worst start of his career for Valentino Rossi. But look at Bradley Smith there in 5th place. He comes all the way through up on Valentino Rossi, drags himself right up in front of Marc Marquez. It was only because Marc Marquez had the inside line going into the first corner that Bradley Smith didn't take 2nd place. And on that run down to the first corner, Valentino Rossi also dropped back behind Andrea Dovizioso. This is on board with the pole man Jorge Lorenzo. Here comes Bradley Smith sweeping by Marc Marquez. What a start by the British rider. That's why he's become the best starter in this MotoGP field. But this is what the field didn't want. Lorenzo getting the whole shot, getting the chance to run his pace at the front, and he started to break away from Marc Marquez. The gap now is up to 1.2 seconds.
Guys, just a very quick word on Eugene Laverty. He's come back to the box. The team have told me that he is okay after that nasty high side, so at least a bit of good news there.
Yeah, it was a nasty high side. He almost took Jack Miller down with him. The track temperatures nothing like they were on Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon. And pretty comfortable as far as Lorenzo goes. Medium. Marquez, medium and hard. Will that pay off for Marc Marquez towards the end of the race? You've got to say, Lorenzo has looked right on it throughout the whole weekend. Valentino Rossi will rue that start. He had to work so hard to get past the Ducati of Andrea Dovizioso. And once he did that, he'd gone. Andrea Iannone running in 4th place. He's winning that all Ducati battle.
Yeah, Valentino Rossi might rue the start, but whether he had anything for his teammate Jorge Lorenzo, I very much doubt it, because he's running the same pace as Marc Marquez, so he certainly could have probably got himself into a fight for 2nd place with the reigning world champions. Andrea Dovizioso finding it really difficult to go with his teammate Andrea Iannone. The gap between the two Italians is up to 0.8 of a second. There's Dani Pedrosa clawing back time in 6th place. He's 1.6 seconds behind Dovizioso in 5th.
We ride with Andrea Dovizioso using that thumb-operated rear brake on the Ducati. He is riding that Ducati with that slimmer fairing. Andrea Iannone is not. Knee down, as you can hear. Knee down or not, he is struggling a little bit in 5th place. And Dani Pedrosa's got plenty of laps to catch him, hasn't he? And may well do exactly that. There is Iannone, there is Dovizioso. Just got a glimpse there of Dani Pedrosa. Valentino Rossi, it's a lonely ride for him. It's a lonely ride also for Jorge Lorenzo. But it's a different type of lonely ride when you're at the front, isn't it? And he can do this all day long, Jorge Lorenzo. Ride at this pace, at the front, fully concentrated.
And Bridgestone have kind of just confirmed that. I've just been speaking to them. I said, are you expecting any kind of drop from these tyres? And they said, well, actually the drop with these tyres, you get an initial one after about 4 or 5 laps, and then it's basically pretty constant right until the end. They say you might see a little bit of a drop off right at the very end, but it should now be a pretty constant pace. And they say they are not at all worried about the front tyres.
11 laps to go. We ride with Marc Marquez chasing his 3rd successive victory. Jorge Lorenzo chasing his 5th Grand Prix victory of the season. There's Rossi, Iannone, Dovizioso, Pedrosa closing all the time.
Credit to Andrea Iannone. He's dropped back into the high 156s in 4th place. The gap between him and Andrea Dovizioso now up to almost 8 seconds. There is Pedrosa in 6th place. He's cut the gap to Dovizioso to 1.5 seconds. Bradley Smith in 7th place. Once again, the top non-factory rider. He's got 0.8 of a second on his teammate Paul Espargaro, who's coming under real pressure yet again from Maverick Vinales, by far the best Suzuki rider yet again. There's Cal Crutchlow just coming into your shot. He completes the top 10, but he's 3.2 seconds back of this fight for 7th place. And Espargaro and Vinales, they are really cutting into that advantage of Bradley Smith's.
Certainly are. Still 10 and a half laps to go. Bradley Smith running in 7th, Espargaro 8th, and obviously Vinales 9th. Just got a glimpse also of Cal Crutchlow as they come into the stadium section. Got a good ride by Maverick Vinales. Paul Espargaro is 150th Grand Prix appearance. A big crash for him, wasn't it, in free practice 4 yesterday. Had to go into qualifying 1, got into qualifying 2, and having a decent ride. Boy, how he'd like to beat Bradley Smith in this race.
A little bit further down the field, behind Cal Crutchlow is Aleix Espargaro in 11th, and it's Danilo Petrucci having a That lonely ride in 12th out of Scott Redding, who's desperately trying to hold off Yoni Hernandez in 14th. Stefan Bradl on the Aprilia, he's the last of the point scoring finishers at the moment. Hector Barbara once again the top open rider. Jorge Lorenzo sweeps through turn number 14 to complete lap number 12. The gap has stayed at 1.7 seconds.
He's controlling it at the front. Well, that goes by the lap times. You can just see he's riding the perfect race. Marquez has got to concentrate very hard now, just to pick up 20 vital World Championship points. But in his battle for the championship against the Yamahas, he's got to keep winning races, and this isn't going to be the case for Lorenzo in this sort of form. I've got to say, is unbeatable.
Yeah, Lorenzo's just dropped into the 157s for the first time since the opening lap. He was on the white line there, obviously not going to have any problem. It was a fairly wide line as he went into that turn number 3.
Perhaps there's something a little bit, perhaps there's a twist at the tail. Here we go, confirmation, a medium front and a medium rear for Jorge Lorenzo. And Marquez has made a different choice. Will that pay off towards the end of the race? 9.5 laps to go. There they are, the two race leaders. Marc Marquez, a winner here at Moto2 and MotoGP a couple of years ago, 4th in the race last year. Jorge Lorenzo was 2nd, but was behind the Honda. Of Dani Pedrosa.
Yeah, the gap up to 1.9 seconds. It's over 2 seconds now for the first time in the race through that second split on lap number 13. If Jorge Lorenzo's going to lose this race, he needs the grip to fall off a cliff with that medium rear tyre. You just can't see Jorge Lorenzo in such a commanding position relinquishing this lead. This is trademark Lorenzo. This is what we've seen so many times in his career. Of course, a 4 times world champion, a 2-time world champion in MotoGP. Looking to end the Honda domination here in the Czech Republic. Lorenzo, the last non-Honda rider to win here in Brno. That was back in 2010.
Into turn 13 for Jorge Lorenzo. That's where Valentino Rossi crashed when Dani Pedrosa put the liquid down from that broken seal on his foot. Dani Pedrosa crashed here at turn 14 and damaged his foot. So a couple of crashes for Marc Marquez in practice. But as you can see, perfectly okay, but he's, well, it's very much a reversal of the situation in Indianapolis. That time Marquez was able to run with Lorenzo and take him before the end of the race. This is not happening this time round.
Jorge Lorenzo back into the 156s on that lap. He was half a second quicker on lap number 14 than Marc Marquez. The lead now 2.2 seconds. Valentino Rossi in a pretty comfortable 3rd place. He's 2.3 seconds clear of Iannone, who has really now stretched away from Dovizioso. Dani Pedrosa now, the gap between Dovizioso and Pedrosa for 5th place is under a second for the first time in this race. Bradley Smith still holding 7th place from his teammate Espargaro. Espargaro can't shake off Maverick Vinales in 9th place. Cal Crutchlow having a really lonely ride in 10th. He's 4 seconds back of Maverick Vinales. Back on board with Lorenzo through the infield section. The grass banks packed to the rafters. A crowd of 140,000 fans here witnessing an absolute masterclass from Lorenzo. Dylan.